Hello again, 7th grade. It's Mr. Matthews, and we're going to keep reading All Types of Trouble. So this is All Types of Trouble, Episode 7. This one's called That Would Be a Terrible Idea. In Episode 6, Quinn and Zane expected to battle a fierce dragon, but found a sobbing, sad beast instead. They got her out of the house and cleaned up the mess in time for Aunt Ivy's return, but the pirate forgot he was supposed to hide. "Avast! I was just returning your treasures, ma'am," Captain Mac said, shuffling his feet and holding out a fistful of forks toward Aunt Ivy. "'Tis me curse. Me can't keep me stolen stuff." His cheeks reddened. "A pirate who can't steal?" Aunt Ivy chuckled. "Excellent! Superb! Splendid!" "I told them not to use the typewriter," Ivan scoffed hoydily, "but they didn't listen." "And what did I tell you, Ivan?" Aunt Ivy said, picking up Carl's ball and patting it affectionately as she looked sternly at the cat. "No talking to unsuspecting guests, because cats aren't supposed to talk," Ivan muttered. "Ribbit, neigh, oink, quack," Carl gurgled. "And fish aren't supposed to quack," Aunt Ivy chided as she tapped Carl's ball with a long purple fingernail. Carl stuck his tongue out and turned a somersault. "And they're most certainly not supposed to sass." "You're not mad at us, Aunt Ivy?" Quinn asked. "Of course not. Your pirate is a delightful visitor." Captain Mac twirled his beard, blushing again at her compliment. "Well, Zane said, there's—" Achoo! Zane pulled the tiny sniffling king out of his pocket and held the mini-man in his palm, admitting, "There's more." "Return my sword, peasant!" the king demanded, pointing a tiny finger at Zane. "And if you put me in that, chew, dungeon again, I, King Bigorest, will have you in chains." Zane perched the king gently on top of his head. "A marvelous mini monarch!" Aunt Ivy exclaimed, clapping excitedly. A crash came from the bathroom, startling the group. There's even more," Quinn squeaked. "Oh, do show me," Aunt Ivy pleaded. Quinn slowly opened the bathroom door to find the mummy wrapped in the shower curtain and the pigacorn wrapped in toilet paper. "Mummy-corn," the mummy said shyly with a hint of pride. "Most superb!" Aunt Ivy clapped. "Such imaginations." "How about that ketchup, kiddos?" Grammy asked, appearing behind them and adding, "Donut needs a snack too, but just a little one because that purple alien scientist shrunk her to the size of those rolling rodents. She's not crying to go home anymore, though, now that singing sloth's got her skating to show tunes." "Donut is a mini donut now?" Aunt Ivy laughed. "That adds a twist." "The dragon is yours, Aunt Ivy?" Zane asked. "She's the main character of my newest book," Aunt Ivy replied, "and normally she'd stay until I finished her story, but it seems she may have become part of yours now, which I must say is quite an extraordinary turn of events." She tickled the pigacorn's whiskered chin. "Before I found that old typewriter, I never finished writing my books," she continued, "because every time I found another doodad or thingamajig, it would give me a new story idea. I had so many unfinished tales scattered about willy-nilly, but now I must finish them, or, as you can imagine, things would get quite chaotic, unruly, tumultuous, topsy-turvy around here." "You never finished Carl and Ivan's story, did you?" Zane asked. "No," Aunt Ivy replied, smiling. "I found I rather enjoyed having them around, and I quite liked the magic tower and talking trees I'd put in that one. They add real character to the house, don't you think?" Quinn enthusiastically nodded her agreement. Zane started to nod until he remembered King Bigorest was sitting on his head. "But if we finish typing the story we started, will everyone go back to where they came from?" Quinn felt a sadness settle in her belly, the same feeling she always had when she got close to finishing a good book. "Yes, but you can always bring them back. I do love a good sequel." "So, what would happen if we added a water park to this epic tale and had a splash bash with our new friends before we write the ending?" Zane asked, grinning. "Well," Aunt Ivy tapped her chin with a long nail, "I think that would be a terrible idea." "Without towels and snacks." "I wouldn't do that if I were you," Ivan hissed menacingly. Can a cat wear scuba fins and a polka dot swim cap? Quinn asked, smiling sweetly at Ivan. Absolutely, seeing as it's your story after all, Aunt Ivy said, winking at Quinn and shrugging at Ivan, who'd scrunched his face into an expression that could only be described as fury. Giddy up, beast! King Bigorous whooped, clutching Zane's hair like reins. Where are you going? Quinn called as Zane took off towards the stairs. To put a life jacket on your invisible so I can see it before I turn the yard into a water park, Zane yelled. I don't want that thing surprising me on the slides. All right, that's the end of episode 7. I don't know if there's more, so we'll see. Question 1. Which sentence is most important to include in a summary of this episode? A. Grammy appears behind Quinn and Zane, and she informs them that the purple alien scientist shrunk Donut down to the size of a rat. B. Captain Mac returns a fistful of Aunt Ivy's forks, and he admits to her that it is his curse to always return everything that he steals. C. Aunt Ivy enjoys meeting all the interesting story characters that Zane and Quinn created, and she explains that the characters will stay around until the story is finished. D. Quinn and Zane are disappointed when they discover that their story characters will disappear, so they decide to add a water park party to the story before they write the ending. Question 2. Based on this episode, Aunt Ivy could best be described as A. A bit distracted and rather messy. B. Awfully secretive and a little sneaky. C. Extremely serious and quite proper. D. Very creative and somewhat quirky and weird. Question 3. Read this passage from the episode. No, Aunt Ivy replied, smiling. I found I rather enjoyed having them around, and I quite liked the magic tower and talking trees I'd put in that one. They add real character to the house, don't you think? Quinn enthusiastically nodded her agreement. Which is the closest synonym for the word enthusiastically? So a word that means something similar to enthusiastically. A. Considerately. B. Angrily. C. Occasionally. D. Vigorously. Last question, question 4. What does Aunt Ivy think about Quinn and Zane's story? A. She is not pleased that they wrote a story and is upset that they used her dragon in their story. B. She is not pleased that they wrote a story and does not think they will ever write a good sequel. C. She is very amused by their story and thinks they should finish all her stories for her. D. She is very amused by their story and thinks that their characters are fascinating. All right. That is our second story for the week, All Types of Trouble, episode 7. Answer those 4 questions in the quiz back in Schoology. You can use this video. All right, I'll see you later, everyone. Be good.